This is Camnet TV World News. For a prompt response, call +2609 53 995 099 or +2609 62 444 726 or +2609 711 77467. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Kwati bampande sampo nga Josefu kashinombelyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemonatine bampange sampo nga Josefu kashinombelyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu kunyantirire kwa banwani bandi bayichiba ekyo byonse naye shaponse naye naponse na nyanja injeko bali abo making sure timfirwe elyo kabiri mpone nanaka lyonse fye kunjibukishe fintu ebyo nachitirya kale awe nanaka
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the National Matters. I am your pastor, Pastor Moses Chiluba, and I'm so delighted this evening to be able to invite on the screen Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Just in case you are watching us from different parts of the world, Mr. Hichilema is the opposition leader or the president of the largest party, and that is in the opposition. And tonight I am honored to have him with us, and also by the special grace of God, invite somebody to tune in and give us your views. We'll be able to discuss a number of things together. I must say that the station in the West Indies, they are watching. They crossed over live, so the whole Caribbean is watching. And we thank you, Pastor Francois. There are also people that are listening to the radio, the whole Caribbean. And those of you in Australia, in the USA, or should I just say around the globe, we welcome you. I am your pastor, and I'm just going to bring out one or two things. I'm waiting for my president to just be with me on set, and we are good to go. So I'm going to just wait for my president. I must also mention that my President Hakainde Hichilema, he is not in the studio with me. You know, this is a new abnormal. It's a new normal. So we are Skyping. And so we are on Zoom, we are on Skype, and those of you that are watching, wherever you are watching, you are free to join us when we open the lines. And yeah, my director, I'm ready for my president to introduce him to the world, and we are ready to go. Okay, I'm just going to wait a little bit. Mr. Director, let me just get this break for a while so that I can wait for my president as well. So give me...
Kesalia kono kunwa ubulayo wakwe balemona kwati bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala ubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemona tine bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala yo wandi nga Josefu etapala lesa tapali winga tiha etasumbula lesa tapali winga wesa pashi amapange ya muntu te mapange ya kwalesa lilia mwasula ena alesumula lilia mwanchaluka ena wamupepi na ine etwabika muline tachafwe paka chimone echonelo ndezangalala ndevo ndezangalala ndevo echonelo ndezangalala ndevo muli yawe malemona kwati bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemona tine bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu kulandalandalanda bena balelanda ukwisalaisala bena baleisale fibi ukwabulo kwiluka atileza ngaisula takuli uwingesala elyo kabiri ngaisala takuli uwingesula pamulandu wenu wina Kristu wandi wakosa pamulandu wenu lesa aisokolola mumweo wandi ailanga tilesa nilesa pantuneka teti mkwanishe balemona kwati bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemona tine bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashinomberyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemona kwati bampangeza mpo nga Josefu kashino mbelyo balentwala kubulayo bwandi nga Josefu balemonatine bampange sampo nga Josefu kashino mbelyo balentwala.
Good evening once again. Welcome to this special interview with President Hakainde Hichilema, the president of the opposition party in the Republic of Zambia. I would like to invite Mr. Hichilema to join me. Mr. Director, I'll be so grateful if you can. President Hichilema, welcome to the program, sir.
Pastor and team, thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be on the program.
I'm so happy to have you and to accord us the chance to broadcast this interview to the world.
The pleasure is mine, Pastor.
Thank you. As we begin the interview, let me just bring out the rules of engagement, because at one point I'm going to open the lines for everyone that is watching. Number one, this is Camnet TV channel, and remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. There will be no demeaning words or bad remarks to my guest or to the Republican President, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu. Anything to do with demeaning words, I'm not going to permit that, because I still remain as a pastor. Integrity must be kept. So no demeaning words. Those of you that want to contribute, please contribute without disrespect. Secondly, we must be issue-based, not making your assumptions, or would simply say nkani ya mkachasu sifunika pa Camnet TV. You must be able to bring issues. Number three, there will be no personal attacks on the head of state or individuals who are not here to defend themselves. My president, the Republican president of the great nation of Zambia, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, is not here to defend himself. Whatever you have to say when you start contributing, dear viewers, I will not accept that, things should be heaped on the president unnecessarily. He's not here to defend himself. And finally, all contributions will be on Skype or Zoom to avoid people who masquerade their identities. When you contribute, we must be able to see you. The other time I was here in the station, and somebody identified himself by the name of Chiti when he was not, and his identity was brought back later. So because of those things, those will be the rules of engagement. However, Mr. Hichilema, the president of UPND, please, you are welcome to this program. First and foremost, President HH, I'm a pastor. I'm interested in your spiritual background. Are you a church person? Do you go to church? And if you do, who is your pastor, your reverend, your priest, your apostle, whoever?
Pastor, thank you very much, and good evening, listeners, viewers, wherever you may be. I'm a Christian pastor, and a Christian from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, in short, SDA. We worship on the Sabbath, but we are Christians who understand that the body of Christ is one. Body of Christ is one. All churches, Christian churches, are important. None is more important than the other. And for us, we have many pastors. It depends on where you are. If I worship in a church, a congregation where Pastor Mulendema is the pastor, that's it. That's the way it works. We are organized in a fairly decent way, like many other churches. So I'm actually an elder in the church, SDA Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And what's your relationship with God?
Well, I'm a baptized Christian. So in some would like to call it born again. So I'm a baptized Christian.
Okay.
So God comes first in everything.
Now, Mr. HH, please help me to understand this part. There is this tag which people have. It has come on national papers. You and I have never had the time to chat along that path. And since we are on this nation, there's been this tag that you are a Freemason and that you belong to the Brotherhood. And some people say, no, they have evidence on the fact that you belong to the Brotherhood. What is your response to that? Because as a pastor, and the church in Zambia must know and hear it from your mouth.
Well, I am not a Freemason. I am an Adventist, as I've said. I don't know what the Freemasons do. Maybe just like any ordinary person, we can read about it as anyone can. I'm not a member. The person who accused me of being a Freemason is not. And unfortunately, for political reasons, he said it, and it's not true. It's a complete lie. I believe that since maligning me, he has been promoted to get a job probably he didn't deserve. But the fact remains that I'm not a Freemason. I think there's a Freemasonry society in Lusaka. The easiest thing, Pastor, to do is to go to that office, the Freemasonry office, wherever it is, I don't know, and verify it from the leadership of the Freemasonry, and they will tell you that HH has never, will never be a member. Thank you.
Thank you, President Hichilema. I want to find out, because the primary understanding of the word opposition leader or opposition party, what does it mean, President HH, to be an opposition party? Does this mean that you have to oppose everything that the ruling party does? If it's good, if it's bad, you still have to oppose. I don't seem to understand. Please put me in line.
First, you cannot be an opposition leader before you run a political party. In our constitution, you cannot be an opposition leader unless you are sponsored by a political party. You cannot be a president unless you are sponsored by a political party. So there is no possibility of having an independent president, one who is devoid of a political party. So that's the starting point. The second issue is that the way I understand the opposition is that we are an alternative government, which means that we have policies. First, we have a vision that we believe is clear. Secondly, we have policies that are, again, clear in the way we would run the economy. We will run monetary policy. We will run macro policy, fiscal policy, so to say. We will run the macro variables of the economy, touching on many issues, on investment, on job creation, on education, on health, on various sectors such as agriculture, mining, tourism. We offer a policy alternatives to those that are in office. And that's what UPND is. And we're very clear on our differentiation, our difference, what makes us different those in the ruling party. And when we, take office, courtesy of people of Zambia, God's will, we will run the country in a manner different from the way it's being run today. So that's how we define ourselves as an opposition political party. A viable alternative government that will grow the economy, that will create jobs, that will make food available to the people at prices that are affordable, that will make liquidity, available in the economy. There's no liquidity now. That will also stabilize the kwacha, which is unstable now, including, if you like, a fiscal policy on debt. Do we deficit finance? Do we live within our means, which means that we don't borrow money to spend what we don't have? That is the UPND alternative government in opposition. Thank you.
President HH, thank you for that response. I want to find out from you that when 1991 came into being, the dawn of the day, when the one party came to an end, President Chiluba came in and he blamed Dr. Kaunda for ruining the economy, and he brought in, may his soul rest in peace. President Chiluba came in with, I think, one of the best cabinet ministers that I've seen, with brains, with everything, but they blamed the president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. During the tenure of their leadership, just after 10 years, he too was being blamed, and the people started blaming the MMD, which led after some years to PF coming in, who also put the blame on MMD. Why is it that when people are in the opposition, they don't take note of the good things that have been done by the previous president? Is that a trend in Africa, that whichever president comes in has to prove himself as the best president?
Well, first and foremost, we are not in the blame game ourselves. We are not in the blame business ourselves. We are in the business of taking public office in order to manage the country's resources in the most efficient way, the most prudent way, and not to be wasteful. Obviously, it is our duty to be able to, when we take office, God's will, acknowledge things that need to be done and done better. Because that's the duty of the leadership. The reason you change leadership fast is not to do the things that do not improve the lives of the people of any particular country you are living. You were MMD of 1991. Your job was to come into office to begin to run the country better, to utilize resources in a way that will create opportunities for the people, better the lives of the people that you're leading, and serve them with diligence. So we're not in the blame game. We're not in the blame business. What we are in, and we are confident about that, is that we can run the country differently, but better. And you will see it through. How will you see it? You will see it through stabilization of the kwacha, the currency. Because the monetary policy measures that we'll put in place when we come into office will lead to stable interest rates. They will lead to stable exchange rates. That's where the kwacha issue is affected. Because it does affect the cost of food, the cost of doing business. The policies we'll put in place will lead to current supply, manifest money supply, that will ensure that it releases liquidity in the market. What do I mean? It improves supply of money, loanable money, so that the exchange rate, the interest rate goes down. But we will combine that with fiscal policies that will ensure that we are not importing more than we export, by and large, managing the trade account in a way that will not detract us from the monetary policy we put in place. Because what we see today is a contradiction of what the central bank is trying to do to lower the interest rates is basically damaged by what the government is doing. What is that is doing to damage? It is local borrowing. By pushing local borrowing, which we've seen a lot of it basically increases interest rates, which negates, meaning it basically suffocates the intentions of the central bank's monetary policy. We will bring the two to balance. It's important to country because you cannot be saying you want the central bank to manage monetary policy and you are careless as a government, careless in Ministry of Finance in managing the fiscal policy. You are borrowing too much, which leads to a lot of money spent on debt service as it is now. You are living lavishly, buying expensive consumption items such as, jets and VXs, which basically drives you to spend money more, which you don't have. And that damages that side of the economic management. So this is what we're saying here. So we're not interested in saying this one is bad, that one is good. What we are interested in is managing the affairs of the country, the resources of the country, in a manner that basically improves opportunities for children for education, and when they complete school, to get jobs. If they can't get jobs, for them to get business opportunities. All of these are not working well today. Improving the public service, right? We will come, hopefully, we'll talk about COVID-19. You are guiding this interview. We will show you how we would have managed the COVID-19 pandemic ourselves in a manner that will have saved many lives, which we are losing unnecessarily. Thank you.
Going back, I was just interested to read through the American governing system, and I discovered that President Obama made 40 promises during the campaign, and at the end of his office, 17 promises were broken, and 12 promises were compromised. He only fulfilled 11 promises. Based on that, I know that in Africa we don't keep track of what we say when we are campaigning, and there is no follow-up to what happens thereafter. Because joblessness is one of the big campaign factors that every political party stands on and say, I'll create jobs, I'll create jobs. How many jobs will you, if you were to come into power, how many jobs will you create? Because there are 17 million people. How many jobs would you create?
That's a very good question. And I heard your rules. When you set the rules, you did not want us to say anything about those who are not on the program. So I'll be talking in generic terms.
This is why, Mr. President, I said I cannot mention my president. I'm just making references. I'm looking at from 1991 to now, people still sing the song, I'll create jobs. From President Chiluba, President Sata, everyone does that. Now I'm asking you, how many will you create? How many jobs?
First and foremost, I want us to, the viewers, to understand the process of job creation. Mm-hmm. It is not possible to create jobs. If anyone seeking leadership tells you past that they will create jobs, yet the economy is declining, they're lying. And I will tell you, we don't have to point a finger at President Obama or President Kaunda. anyone, including HH, if I tell you that I'll create jobs, UPND will create jobs, but we are not telling you how we are going to grow the economy, and the economy is declining, we are lying. So anyone who says that to you, to us, to citizens anywhere in the world, they are telling lies. So our fundamental approach to job creation, therefore, will be to address the current declining economy. 2014, 2015, the economy was growing at around 6-7%. By end of 2019, this had come down to -2%, to be specific, 1.9% decline from 6-7% to 1.9%. There are no jobs that can be created by anyone. I'm talking of an incremental number of jobs. You can create 1 or 2 jobs, 20 jobs here, but you don't have to be an economist to understand that if the economy drops in terms of growth from 6-7% to 1.9%, the net effect that is that you lose jobs. So our duty first, but before I go there, this year's growth projection by PASTA is projected at -3.5%, -3.5%, meaning that growth has been wiped down from, let's be conservative, let's be fair to anybody who is listening, including those that are in government today, is that if you lost 6% and now you are -3.5, you've actually lost growth. 6 plus 3.5, you've lost growth by 9.5%. Sorry, by, yes, 9.5%. That's a very serious situation. So our first step in office ourselves, because there are no jobs that are created. Don't worry about what projections were given, 500,000 jobs, 1 million jobs. That cannot happen. Numbers don't lie. I'm a great believer that figures and facts don't lie. They look at you in the face, even if you try and lie. What I've given you is enough to tell you that there are no jobs that have been created. So what we will do ourselves is to focus on growth, economic growth, to create the first vision of the UPND, that's clear, pro-growth, then the policies that will promote growth. Growth, PASTA, will not come without investments. Domestic investment for Zambians, residents, and foreign investment. These combined together, manipulated, I use that word deliberately, through a policy mix, measures that we put in place, which will help investments to grow. Then we have a chance to grow the economy. And subsequently, invariably, we have a chance to create jobs. That, I think, is the beginning point for us. What are those factors that we put in place, which are not there at the moment, that will create growth? One, we will bring stability to monetary policy measures. We will make sure that there's a balance in the statutory reserve ratios to release more liquidity into the businesses to borrow. As we increase that release of money supply, we expect to reduce interest rates, which is the cost of money. By reducing the cost of money, we expect at least the capital, the money available for investors to drive more investment. And that will help us kick up the economy and create jobs in agriculture, in tourism, in mining. Very important. The next measure that we are going to take ourselves is to make sure that we manage the fiscal policy in tandem with monetary policy. What will we do? First and foremost, we will live within our means as UPND. We will not be working up costs that drives up expenditure, consumption, which takes away resources available for investment. Again, back to investment. What do I mean? To simplify the language. We have listeners who are not financial economically trained. We will reduce expenditure, which means that we will not borrow money recklessly. Currently, our debt position sits at almost $14 billion in foreign debt and another $4 to $5 billion in domestic debt. We will dismantle this debt. By dismantling this debt, we will be able to release the resources that we spend now, Pastor. 40% of our locally generated revenue goes to debt service. By now dismantling this debt, we will release 40% of the domestic revenues and direct these into investment in agriculture, for example. We will release this investment to go into value addition. One example only, Pastor. If you mine manganese today, if you are in the Luapula province, where you mine manganese or Serenge district, our mining colleagues, those who mine manganese, Zambians, if they're there, when they're there, and that, by the way, we'll increase the number of Zambians who mine because we'll give licenses deliberately. We'll give new mining licenses to Zambians and Zambian citizens. When they mine manganese now, they are only paid, my pastor, $50 per ton for raw manganese. We will direct the savings from the debt service by reducing our appetite to consume and therefore to borrow, which is living with beyond your means. We will now be able to release this revenue. Part of this revenue will go to investing in the manganese processing plants in the Luapula, in the Serenge area, and process the raw manganese, which is what we call value addition, which will allow us to sell 1 ton of manganese at $1,500 per ton. Look at the difference. It's not happening now. We will do it then. That alone will create more mining jobs on the mine site. In addition, it will create more jobs at the manganese processing plant for the youth, for the citizens of Zambia. There is the jobs that we're talking about, but more important, there is the added value which we have created, and we export the processed manganese, which will allow us to earn per ton, $1,400 more per ton of manganese than we earn now. What does that do, my pastor? It also leads us to earn more foreign exchange. When we increase the earning of foreign exchange more than we earn now, we will be able to improve the supply side of dollars, and that will help stabilize the kwacha. That is what we're going to, by stabilizing the exchange rate. Now, the kwacha is in a runaway situation, which has increased the cost of living, food, bread, rice, anything, because we're an import-dependent economy. I'll come to that as well. We will then be able to reduce the cost in kwacha terms for our imports. Because if you are importing something worth $1,000 in 2014, you were only required to pay 6,000 kwacha. When you import it today, you are required to pay 19,000 kwacha. Have you seen the difference? Now, we will be able to lower the cost of our import bill in kwacha terms because we have increased our earnings in addition to creating jobs just in the manganese side. And that is the alternative policies that we give. That will also now begin to stabilize the local prices, which will reduce the cost of living for an average household. They can afford 3 meals a day, which they can't do today. Then they can also be able to invest more as a marketeer, trading in the market on imported goods, because they are able to sell and import more goods to sell without losing too much kwacha. It's not happening now. By allowing more domestic traders, our marketeers, small-scale, medium-scale traders, we will create more self-employment jobs, self-employed jobs. This is the combination of measures. I've just given you a very small tidbit of what distinguishes us as we take public office and why we're an alternative government rather than what one may call us as opposing for the sake of opposing. No, thank you. Just a little bit.
Yeah, Mr. President, there is this assumption people have that borrowing
Yes.
is bad.
Yes.
But I'll give you an example. As Camnet TV,
Yes.
when I look at modernizing and bringing this station to where it's supposed to be competitively,
Yes.
I need about $6 million.
Yes.
So if I had the capacity to borrow the money and build the station and improve the station so that I can compete with CNN, is that wrong for me to borrow with the mind that I'll pay back? In the same vein, Mr. H.H., when
Yes.
you look at Zambia, we do not have the financial capacity for us to generate the funds to do the roads that we are doing, opening up the whole nation. Now people coming from Eastern Province, they don't have to come here in order for them to go to Northern Province. They'll cut that way. Same with Northwestern Province, same with Southern Province. What I'm saying is, if we are borrowing to improve the economy, is that bad?
Borrowing per se is not bad. But if you as Camnet, my pastor, with all the love we have for you, you go out and borrow $6 million to invest in Camnet. Number one, you go and borrow that money, masquerading that, for lack of a better word, I'm not accusing you of anything, that you want to borrow to invest in Camnet, to improve the Camnet operations. It's fine. But if you use Camnet as a camouflage to borrow $6 million, then you as the boss of Camnet, you go and spend out of the $6 million you borrow, $3 million you buy yourself a jet. You don't actually invest the money in Camnet. You're digging a hole for yourself. That's what we want to avoid as a country. We don't borrow money to go and finance luxury. We borrow money to go and finance investment in Camnet, to improve the capacity of Camnet to generate more revenue. Perfect. That's my advice. So, but in this country, we've had a tendency to borrow billions of dollars, $14 billion foreign debt. One mistake, we borrow that money at a high interest rate. Do not go and borrow Camnet money at 4% in dollar terms. You go bankrupt, my pastor. I'm giving you free advice. So don't do it. This is what this country is doing. It went to borrow $14 billion and borrowed at a high cost, yet it could have borrowed not at 10%. It could have borrowed at 3%. They chose to go through an open commercial window called the Eurobond and borrowed a lot of money at a high interest rate. Mistake number one. Mistake number two, you go and borrow, I've already touched on it, $14 billion, very expensive money, then you invest it in non-productive areas. What are these non-productive areas? You go, let's use the road you talked about, the roads you talked about. You go and borrow that money, then you go and build a road, 1 kilometer of a road, at a higher cost than the ordinary average benchmarked cost, the true cost. You use the 1 kilometer of a road, the money you borrowed, but build a poor quality road, a high cost road, you are sinking the Zambian economy. We will not do that. That I advise you as Camnet as well. Now, look at one road, Lusaka-Ndola Road. This road is 335, let's call it 350 kilometer road. The total cost of this road, my pastor, should be no more than $300 million. But in our case, we are using borrowed money at a high interest rate to build this road of 350 kilometers, which should cost $300 million. We are building it at $1.2 billion. Why would you waste money that you borrowed like that? You will never get a payback. Then you sink yourself into a debt crisis because you have lost $1.2 billion, less $300 million. You basically lost yourself $900 million. This is what we in UPND will not do. We will only use $300 million to do the Lusaka-Ndola road and save $900 million, which we'll put in agriculture to bring more fertilizer at a lower cost, more seed produced at a lower cost. We will lower the cost of farming. We will produce more agricultural outputs. We will basically stabilize the price of milling and make it affordable to all the citizens of Zambia and grow agriculture, still do our roads, quality roads at a correct cost, not at a cost that's more than phenomenal. And yet we are using borrowed money. You will never pay back that money. You get locked up in a debt crisis. That's where we are now, where we are spending 40% of our revenue on debt service. And now we've hit our headroom. We can't borrow anymore because we are not credible as a country to borrow. We will alter all of those and focus our revenues on the production side instead of consumption side, which you may think that is good to build those roads. I do agree with you, but do the roads at a correct cost, lower cost, at a good quality, on time, you will be fine. That's what UPND will do. Cabinet will be fine if you borrowed in that way, but not in any other way. You damage Cabinet, and I'm sorry, you'll go bankrupt. And that's what's happening to this country. We want to address those issues when we come into office.
You've mentioned Zambia, Mr. President. Apparently, I happen, though I'm a pastor, not as an economist, but by the special grace of God, I am connected to people who are actually controlling financially, around the world. I say this because one of the friends who is in Japan, and these are big financiers, I was chatting with him 3-4 days ago, and he said, Pastor Chiluba, we understand there is this COVID situation, but most of the African countries cannot borrow the money because of the situation that you are in. If I say that Zambia is the only nation that is in the situation we are in, I would be lying to myself, because I have dealt with these people, and I am speaking to a lot of people. As you know, President HH, we are bringing some part of the investment working with the government. So in my little research, I've just discovered South Africa are going to the same people that I'm talking with. Zimbabwe is the same thing. Malawi is the same thing. In Bemba, Mr. HH, there is a saying that Umwana Shenda Atasho Nyinokunaya. In other words, when somebody is just locally here and they are thinking of what we are going through, they may think that Zambia is in a worse situation than any other country. Like there is another Bemba saying, you understand Bemba, President HH, we say that inga ndayamu nove vaikumbuo mutenge. Nanguinga ndo shilalamo, it looks beautiful outside and everything. But me being a Zambian and traveling and connected to these same people who are giving us money, I still understand that Zambia is far much a better country, and we are on a good footing than it is normally said. I am just putting that across because apparently a lot of Zambians, we like jumping on things and condemning. I'm not saying that you are jumping on things, President HH. I'm simply saying, by and large, the people on the street, when they hear, they may think Zambia is in an irredeemable situation, which I'm saying it's not. The same temptations, the same challenges that we are facing are the same challenges that South Africa is facing, though at a different scale. Their budget and our budget is different. The budget of America and South Africa is different. Those are bigger economies. So I'm saying at our level, I'm just grateful to God that, me as a pastor, I'll never lose hope. And I'm just saying that Zambia is on a good footing. Yes, we have made mistakes. Yes, we have done things wrongly because we are human, in humanity. But I'm putting to you, President HH, that if you, as a president in the opposition, and my president Edgar Chagwa Lungu, and everyone around, we came together, and I'm so glad that you used the term no blaming games. If we just come on the table and say, what can we do for this nation, irrespective of the party, I'm sure we can, and we will, get out of the mess we are in.
My pastor, I have great respect for you. But I want to have a small variation from what you said.
Please go ahead.
With due respect.
Go ahead.
It is not true to say that we are in the same situation as others are. Just next door, it is true to say that economies that have been run better in this region, one of them is Botswana, is in a much better shape than us, even when pandemics like COVID hit us almost at the same time. To start with, number one. The reason is that the economies that were better managed, the economies that had not declined like ours from 6%, 7% to 1.9% in 2019 from 2014, are in a better shape. Now, we want to say that the economy of Botswana is in a better shape because it is Botswana. No, it is because the Botswana leadership have been prudent.
What is the population? What is the population of Botswana, Mr. HH? The population.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It can be 3 million, it can be 4 million, versus 17. It doesn't matter. In fact, the inverse is correct. The higher your population, the better for economic management. This is the mistake a lot of people make.
Yeah.
A small population is actually difficult to grow the economy from. That's why you need to drive your exports, because the consumer demand will be too small. That the Botswana economy is driven by basically diamond exports. But remember, before the diamond exports in Botswana, there was the beef exports, because you cannot sell enough diamonds within Botswana or beef in order to generate enough revenue to run your economy for a small population. So you do need a population. But the important thing is that, in case I understood you where you were going, it does not matter, because the bigger the population, you now discover that you can grow your economy even better. An example is China. Before, there was a perception that the Chinese population was too big to look after. Actually, the Chinese found an opportunity in their population because they had a lot of consumer demand capacity possible in the domestic economy. You can be a multi-billionaire in China by selling within China. You cannot be by selling within Botswana. So you actually, that debate is not a worry for us as
maybe let me put it. Maybe let me put it this way, Mr. President. Let me concede yes, that you, as an economist, you may have several facts over me. And maybe in the future, I'll sit next to an economist who can help us reason. Let's come back to our nation. As a pastor, I'm so concerned, President HH, for the regionalism that has rocked our nation. I'll give you an example that now, when I'm in Kasama, I'll say, okay, because me, I'm from Kasama, you must vote for me because I'm Bemba. When I'm in Southern Province, I will say you must vote for me because I'm Mr. Hantutu. And those things are splitting the nation. Even the belonging to parties, you find that, oh, I will support this party because I'm this tribe. How do you help to unify? Because it's a fact, President HH, that if you look like in the region, southern region, I think, please correct me, I'm not an expert again, but I'm just looking at the facts that I've gathered myself. Since I dealt with may his soul rest in peace, Bodwin Nkumbula, we had a long chat, and he was a friend, I must say, that at one time we chatted at length in State House. We were just the two of us when President Chiluba was there. And he said to me, Pastor Chiluba, if you come to Southern Province, even if you came with billions in Bwengwa, I'll beat you hands clean. And that got me to think, what do you mean? And he said, you know, Pastor, he told me some facts about that. Now I'm looking at Eastern, I'm looking at Western, Northwestern. I can easily tell that there is regionalism. Even some parties are strong in this area, that area. Why is it so, Mr. President? And how do we unify this nation?
Thank you. Thank you. Very, very important. I'll be very quick on this question, but just allow me to conclude your earlier question of being in the same situation, countries around. It is really true to say that if we were able to manage our resources better, prudently, to benefit the people, we have more resources than Botswana has. Copper, gold, emeralds, manganese, uranium. All we need to do is to do to our minerals, just one example, what Botswana has done to its diamonds. You will see an improved and growing economy here. You will see improved quality of life here, including supplying rural water to our population, and will be able to invest in solar energy to reduce the cancerous load shedding. That's UPND now, what we do. So since we should focus on talking about ourselves, so we will be able to do away with load shedding and mark this conversation on this program, because we talked about Obama's promises. I'm glad you're talking about other presidents elsewhere, but we are shy to talk about our situation. I understand where you're coming, but these are some of the issues we need to deal with so that we're going to proper freedom of expression, freedom of the media. I know it's difficult now, but such issues that are important for us will restore rule of law, media freedoms, expression, assembly, movement. But just the way Botswana manages diamonds, if we can manage our minerals here, we'll have better opportunities for school, for job creation, for basically looking after the sick and the working society. Very, very important. Management, leadership, Pastor Chiluba, is the commodity that African countries need to invest in now than ever before. And the demonstration is very clear. Mauritius is another example. But let's not go too far. Look at the beef Botswana produces, more beef than Zambia. Yet Zambia has more water, more grass. When I go to Pastor Chiluba, I always stop by Tuta Bridge and admire the water and the grass. And when I look at that water and the grass, I'm thinking about money for the country, not for HH, for the people of Luapula. How we can produce more beef in Luapula at a lower cost than we produce beef on HH's ranches, which are dry in the central and southern region. That requires leadership. Now, let me reinforce that point. Leadership is the key, even managing pandemics like COVID. Leadership is the key in improving the welfare of the people, that we govern in any country, anywhere in the world. Unit, regionalism, I agree with you. We have a clear policy ourselves that this country, as UPND, this country belongs to every citizen, 17 million of us, who are equal, who are children of God, who basically deserve fair treatment, equitous treatment. That's UPND for us, for you. I do not agree that we should choose leadership or run political parties based on isms, regionalism, tribalism. Because when our children are hungry, Muchijanja, Pastor Chiluba, vana sibangadye mutundu. Children cannot feed on tribe. They need to feed on the enterprise of the father and the mother or the leader of the family. So is the country. Our people cannot benefit from this tribalism, from these isms. We have seen it over and over in Zambia, in Africa, and elsewhere. And that is important for us as a people now to agree that what we need is a visionary leadership, is a prudent management leadership capability, a leadership that will know how to combine various variables, various resources, various policies to generate growth, to create opportunities for our people in any respect. So tribalism belongs to the past. And I want to urge the young population. The Chiluba Hakaindes, they are there now, many of them. Or Hakainde Chilubas, there are many. The Chiluba Mubitas, the Chiluba Piris, there are too many of them. These are the young people that will now, and I believe and I can feel it, that will want leadership that will create opportunity for them. The issue, Pastor, of a political party being strong here and there, it is no more in a democracy. If you go to America, if you are in Texas, you are in a Republican country. It doesn't matter what you want to do. Texas is a strong Republican state or province, if you want to call it. But when you go to California, it's a strong Democratic state. It is normal. You go to Illinois. Illinois, largely, it is, since you've traveled, just like me, maybe you've traveled more than me. Both of us have traveled. We're privileged a little bit. We're privileged a little bit. So we should know that in a democracy, true democracy, you have strongholds. They do not necessarily equate to tribalism or regionalism. They equate, in my view, to the policy abuse. If you are in a regional province that is agriculture, and they understand your agricultural policies, most likely they'll support you.
Maybe
I can see this changing now.
Maybe let me put it this way, Mr. Hichilema.
Yes.
Why is it, okay, let me put it this way. Why is it that in Southern Province, there is no single party apart from UPND that has members?
Why did you ask the other way? Why did you ask the other way?
No.
In Luapula Province, there is only PF. Why don't you ask the question that way? So
okay, I'll come to that because I've seen that you have the presence in Central Province, you have the presence in Lusaka, you have the presence in other places. I'm just saying because this, you remember President HH, it's good that we have met here. You remember that when President Mwanawasa, may so rest in peace, when President Mwanawasa died, and because of this, you accorded me an opportunity. I asked President Sata if I can speak to you, and you and I had some meeting at Pamosi for 45 minutes, and I said, President HH, can you merge together? Before you met Obasanjo, before you met all these people at Dr. Kaunda's place, you remember that I was the first envoy because I believe in oneness. The Bible says a house that is divided cannot stand. So I came to you. I asked President Sata, can I talk to President HH that you people work together in the interest of Zambia? That's the whole point I'm coming from, President HH.
Very good point, my pastor, Chiluba. First, I want to urge you to continue on that line, to reach out to all of us to bring our country together. I share that agenda 100%. I was only reinforcing a point that if you are strong in Southern Province and you're UPND, some people want to call it tribalism. When PF is strong in Luapula, some people call it a stronghold. That is distortionary. And we should not allow that to happen in our country. And I want to be very clear about that. That is the beginning of the problem. Because there will be strongholds in a democracy, one region and the other. But what we shouldn't do is anchor those strongholds based on tribe or regionalism. I want to agree with you. It must be based on policies. It must be based on the appeal that we make. And I want to agree with you that we need to reunite this country. It's one of my personal agendas, and I'm basically cajoling my colleagues in the UPND that one of our agenda as UPND should be to reunite this divided country, so that the cabinet of the UPND, and I want to remember today's conversation, my pastor, will be a cabinet which is represented from all the regions of that. It doesn't matter how the election results will come, because the Constitution allows us as UPND, like it allows the PF, to nominate members from all parts of Zambia. 8 are enough. I wish it was 10 or 15, but to start with, 8 are enough to be able to assure that on the UPND cabinet table, there will be members from each of the 10 provinces, because they are equally competent, they are all skilled, they are all Zambians. It is not the case today. It will be the case under the UPND legislation. So I share with you this concern. And I want to invite you to continue those early steps that you made for us to come together. And we need to do that. But it must be based on the understanding that we share common values such as hard work, such as fairness, such as servant leadership, such as zero tolerance to corruption, so that we don't seek public office to make ourselves richer and those who vote for us get poorer. That is the common basis to develop our economy, to basically borrow less money and to borrow, when we borrow, at a lower cost, so that we can basically create jobs. So I want to say to you, my pastor, I'm very pleased that you still remember that meeting. I'm very, very pleased, and that's why you're a great pastor. You still remember that meeting. I remember that meeting. Please continue. Off the line, I will discuss with you on that matter. One Zambia, one nation, one people. We must live it. We must not talk about it. We must practice it. We must believe in it. We do believe in it, and would like to get your help and that of many Zambians to reunite this country at a political platform, at economic fairness. When UPND comes in office, Pastor, you will not see civil servants retired in national interest for political reasons. No, they will all be able to be entitled to a job and to promotion to permanent secretary to the cabinet, irrespective of their name, irrespective of where they were born. But as long as they're Zambian, 1, 2, they're qualified, because we run the country on 3 letters principle: M, P, and H. What is M? Merit. As long as people qualify, competent, they'll get a job in public sector and they'll have job security. No one will be removed for political reasons. 2, we'll be pragmatic. We will not believe in tribalism. We have no time for debate on socialism, capitalism. We want to produce more food for our farmers, for our people, at a lower cost, in the most cheaper way, simplistic way, instead of tractors which are expensive, oxen driven. Number 3, we will be honest, which is H. I said MPH. Merit, pragmatic. H is honesty, no corruption. And we'd like to invite other Zambians to agree on, at least for us, this platform. Then we can be able to reunite this country and develop it. Thank you.
Talking about the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of everything, President HH, has the UPND been to a convention where you have been challenged as president of UPND? Have you stood against anybody, or when was the convention, or when will there be a convention for MMD to elect leaders? Have you been challenged before?
Yeah, well, just to clarify, that's different from freedom of expression. That is party democracy.
Oh, democracy,
So,
that's
I
right.
understand where you're coming
Democracy, yes,
I
sir.
understand where you're coming from. So I got elected through a competitive electoral process. There were 3 candidates. Most people have forgotten my past. There were 3 candidates. I got well over 70% myself in that election. That's how I became president. Then we've had the second General Assembly. We are going to a third one in the next 1 or 2 months. We are just concluding our intra-party election. We are now from the wards, we moved to constituencies pastor, respected pastor. We moved to the districts. We are now at the provinces. We hope to conclude the provinces in the next 20 or so days. Then we'll be moving to our General Assembly, which other parties call the convention. Very happy to do that. We welcome competition. Anyone is free to compete for this, any position in the national management. By the way, we have 70 positions in the national management. It's not just the 70. So they are all open. They are open for contestation. Everybody is free. I'm sure you'll be following since you are in the media. But
I will follow because
the freedom of expression.
I lost my track when the last time you had a convention and who stood against you, and I have lost track on that. So I will be keenly following who is going to challenge President HH in your party. But I'm going to open the lines, President HH, so that as a member of the UPND and president of the opposition party, there is something that my wife and I believe in, and that is making the people great. I believe that every one of us, we were born for greatness. Where you want to create jobs for people, I want to also create jobs as a pastor, not to be employed. And that's what I believe in. Now, how I got this clip, Mr. President, I was happy to go through behind and check just on the internet some interviews that I felt maybe I was not clear on. The first interview was with the SABC, and there is a clip there. Let me call my director to just put that interview because I felt it was not answered by you. I want to learn also how you became wealthy. Mr. Director, give me that clip for President HH.
I must say that you are one of the richest people I've ever spoken to. What kind of a politician are you who's so wealthy?
I think maybe that's not too important in relative terms. I think the most important thing is that what can we do together? Mm-hmm. We, the peoples of Africa.
But I just want to get this thing out of the way. Mm-hmm. You know that a lot of people have been talking a lot in Zambia about how corrupt you are yourself.
That's news.
How did you amass the wealth that you have?
I think, Paul, far from that assertion, far from it. The issue is really for creating opportunities for other young people.
Yes.
To have the opportunities that we had.
Exactly.
And that...
the reason why I'm asking this question is because I think you are a role model to a large extent, because Zambians would love to know, how can a 53-year-old man be as rich as you are?
Well, look, first you must consider these things in relative terms. You must know that there are a lot of richer people out there who are much younger than me. I think the important thing is that those countries where such people come from have created opportunities for their people. And I think that's the most important thing, to give our young people the best inheritance. What is that? Education. Give them a skill set that delivers an opportunity for them to compete in the job market, for them to have an opportunity to do business.
Yeah, but
I think that's the most important thing.
But surely you didn't get your wealth out of education.
This clip, President HH, I was looking because I like following people that are successful like you. I also looked at Dangote, how he answered the same question. You may want to take a look at this clip when he featured on Al Jazeera. The way he answered the question, and I wanted to learn from you. Mr. Director, put me through to the clip of Dangote.
Aliko Dangote, thank you very much for talking to Al Jazeera. Thank you for welcoming us into your home here in Lagos.
You're very welcome.
Your story, Aliko Dangote, says what is possible about Africa. Tell us about your journey to success. How were you able to turn a loan from your uncle into the most successful business conglomerate on the African continent?
You know, I mean, Africa is full of opportunities. And I think what we did was to actually harness fully the opportunities that we met on the ground. I mean, we've done quite a lot in various areas. We started first, with trading. After succeeding with trading, now what we did was to go into manufacturing, which is normally a very difficult area, especially from this part of the world because of lack of power.
Right.
But we've been able to resolve those issues, and we're able to, succeed in most of what we're doing.
We are interested in the man, Aliko Dangote. Tell us about your upbringing, because your story is not really of one from rags to riches. You come from a wealthy family in Nigeria.
Well, I came from wealthy family. My grandfather was my great-grandfather from my mother's side was actually very, very wealthy, Alassane Tata. And then his son, also Sanusi Tata, whom really raised me up because, I lost my dad at the age of 8. And, so after educating me, he gave me a loan of which I was grateful, and I paid back in 3 months, because business was so good. And, I was able to establish myself from the trading to, manufacturing, and now to a lot of daring things, like refinery, the agricultural process that we're doing, and also the, fertilizer.
Sir, I just took interest because I follow Dangote, I follow you, I follow Donald Trump. I just took interest to go to those 2 clips. Now, maybe before I open the lines, if you can just tell me how you became wealthy. Dangote says he got a loan from his wealthy uncle, and the rest is history. Now, President HH, Zambians may not know. You heard the man in Paul saying that people say you are corrupt, you sold the mines, you sold the Livingstone Hotel, and all these things. But maybe just tell the nation or tell Pastor how you became wealthy.
First, Pastor, let's be contextual.
Yes.
I am not in Aliko Dangote's league.
No.
I've met Dangote before. We had a conversation, totally different paths. He was able to talk about, let me draw a few threads. He talked about opportunity. If you listen to that tape, he talked about opportunity. I talked about opportunity in my interview with him. First commonality. Second commonality, when his father died at age 8, he talked about his uncle educating him. Education. I talked about education to the young people in my interview with Mpo. And Aliko Dangote talked about the same. Two threads. The third issue Dangote talked about was a loan from Israel. I didn't get a loan from any uncle. No uncle would give me a loan. What did I do? I started working. And quickly, when an opportunity arose, the very opportunity Dangote talked about, he talked about trade, he talked about manufacturing, a sector. But an opportunity arose for me to start some investment at a very young age, 26, 27 years old, because I couldn't get a loan. I was from a village. So my best and first investment was education. And I talked about it in my interview with him. So you can see these threads coming through here, right? Opportunity, education, investment. So he went into trade, I went into corporate business. I don't have to articulate everything that he articulated. We had our small way opportunity. And at a young age, we started corporate investment, not alone, in partnership with others. Some of those businesses stand today. 35 years later, those businesses stand today and they employ people and they actually pay salaries and create opportunities for other young children. The difference is that he went into other things in addition to the corporate investment we made together with others, because I didn't have a lot. We also went into agriculture very early on. My first farm, one of my first farms in Chisamba, Pastor, I started with 6 cattle. Today, there are thousands of cattle on that farm. Through hard work, a lot of hard work. It's not easy. We moved on to a different ranch, hard work. Let me give you one final tap on this one. When I was in prison for treason, which I didn't commit, no hard feelings about it. I made a decision when I was in prison. Pastor, since you are insisting today to ask this question again, I made a decision in prison that when I come out, I will start a new investment, and within 2 years, it will pay back. I just did that. I've only been out of prison 2 years. 2 years running to 3 years. Possible, but you need opportunity. You need willingness to work hard. You need to deny yourself consumption. If you look at the cars I drive, Pastor, a lot of pastors drive more expensive cars than me. I have made a decision that there's no value in driving a car worth $300,000. I would rather buy steers worth $300,000, and after 3 years, I can buy the car that most people in government are driving from the return that I've earned from the steers, from the heifers that I bought. This is different. That's a culture we want to bring into public office. So I'm not a Dangote, different routes, education made a difference. That's why I emphasize. I had an opportunity to leave the village, government bursary. Eventually, of course,
why
was I had an opportunity to do it. Sorry?
Why I
Just to
ask?
conclude this.
Yes.
To conclude this. In Nigeria, you are given accolades if you are Dangote. I'm not Dangote. Please, let's not confuse things.
I know.
In Zambia, you are ostracized. You are demonized every day. That's not good for young people. We must say to young people, you can work hard, you can be what you want. The government will be able to support you and not compete with you or demonize you or close business. In Nigeria, the man you mentioned the name of one of the leaders, the presidents of Nigeria. I do talk to him. And one of the things I share with him is that he focused his agenda to create opportunity for Nigerians, including Aliko Dangote, including the banks you see out of Nigeria, which are now Africa-based global banks. They were deliberately created by political leaders who wanted to allow Nigerians to excel. That's what UPND is going to do. That's what HH is aspiring to do in leading.
I asked that, Mr.
There's no corruption. There's no sale of a mine, Pastor. I've never sold a mine. I've challenged everybody. I do it again. I never sold a mine. Anyone who has information I sold a mine, go to the police, say HH committed a crime, never committed a crime. Hard work. We form government, Pastor, no corruption, focus on education, job opportunities for the youth, hard work, work, and more work. You will see after 5 years of our time in office, a different Zambia. I promise you.
Why I asked that, Mr. HH, I'm so grateful that you have answered that question, because I come from a compound or a city called John Howard, and I talk about it so everyone can trace how my wife and I are here. They can follow, but I wanted the Zambians to learn so that they follow. They say, if HH can do this, I can do that. I think we are more into inspiring a common Zambian to come to that level. My guest is President Hakainde Hichilema, for those of you that are in the diaspora, and the lines are now open. No demeaning words or bad remarks to my guest or to my president, the Republican President, Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And we must be issue-based, no assumptions. Don't bring your dreams and theories here and start contributing without substantiating what you are bringing. No personal attacks on the head of state or individuals who are not here to defend themselves. Lastly, all contributions must be on Skype or Zoom, and to avoid masqueraders who call themselves Chilufya or Banda when they are not. The lines are open. You can also text, and we are going to take your questions. Those of you that are on Zoom, Skype, the floor is open. We are ready to take your questions. Or Mr. Hichilema, the president of the UPND. On Kamango. You can, in the meantime, give me the text messages if they are there, so that any question coming to me I can answer. Going to President Hakainde, he can answer. No messages. We continue with President Hakainde Hichilema. This is the aspiring president of the opposition party, and most of these questions, President HH, people are not courageous to ask. As you know, that people would rather go behind. Most of the people would rather hide in the name of. But there is one problem I have, President HH. I don't like hiding. I've asked you on a number of occasions on certain things. So we are so grateful for this opportunity that we have. Those of you that are logging in, please give them the ID and the password for them to Skype. There is the ID, 6177 586203. And we are going to follow up what you are saying as individuals out there. It seems like we have we are having issues with Skype and the people. Now, those of you that can, please identify yourself and give the director your number when you contribute so that they can take your number. In case you insulted me or you insulted President HH, tomorrow we can meet at Woodlands Police. So, because a lot of people hide, they have no courage to come out in the open. Is there any phone call, Mr. Director? Let me allow one or two. When someone is sitting in the seat, like myself, and what I've noticed, Mr. HH, people have got different agendas. Hello, there is somebody there on the line. What's your name?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
What's your name? My name is Kalusa Francis.
Kalusa Francis, please ask the question.
My name is Kalusa Francis. Oh, I just want to say thank you, our pastor, for this wonderful program. We really appreciate.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President, we are happy for you, sir. Continue with the same vision. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. President, we are happy for you, sir.
Next time, thank you, Kalusa. Next time you are calling, please reduce the volume on your set so that we can follow each other. We are so grateful for that call. Those of you that have questions to ask, please do so before I close this program. Okay. Let's not wait because we are already in news time. And what may I have President Hakainde there? Okay. Who is there now? Hello? You are through to Camnet TV. Okay, Mr. Director, let's come to the conclusion. Seems like we are having challenges. Hello, sir? Okay, President HH,
Yes, Pastor.
I want to ask from you, in the interest of the nation. Remember that President sat at one time, he was sick, and he was flown to South Africa by the then sitting President Levi Mwanawasa. May their souls rest in eternal peace. When President Sata came from South Africa, they went to State House and they shook hands, they came together. May I request, I am requesting, just as much as I will request the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Kambwili, Mr. Kalaba, may I request as a pastor that please work together, come together, find the open lines, because next year we are having elections. The opportunity you have given me to interview you, and I'll interview several people, and by God's grace, His Excellency the President, my goal is one thing, President HH, the love of God, the unity of God, and the peace of God. When it comes to economics, I will leave those fields to people who qualify. Can we unite this nation together without divisions? There are people that will sit here and criticize unnecessarily, Pastor Chiluba this, Pastor Chiluba that, but those things don't bother me, because my prayer to God as a pastor is to bring peace and unity in the nation. What do you think, President Hakainde Hichilema?
I think it's very important to keep the country in a situation of what I may call unity, but unity in diversity, not unity by sharing common habits. Some habits may not be good for the country, such as corruption, but unity in diversity in a sense of respecting the rule of law, respecting human rights, liberties, and freedoms, including freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, so that citizens can move freely. For now, within the COVID-19 environment, we want to make sure that citizens are free within those limitations to move, to organize, to mobilize by following the law, and the laws must be interpreted correctly. Public Order Act, you are aware, is misinterpreted to restrict some people from traveling, whereas others travel freely. The freedom to express ourselves means we must allow peaceful demonstrations in our country. That is not a crime. It is legal. We must allow opposition to function within the law, because this is a multi-party democracy. Currently, there are a lot of restrictions, and they're visible. Everybody knows it. So within these issues, we must allow for ideas to flow. I can give you an example. My pastor, my respected pastor. We in the UPND believe that the central bank must have independence. Central bank must have a leadership that has effectiveness, a leadership that is credible, a leadership that is firm to manage monetary policy parameters, to supervise banks, commercial banks, to manage the foreign exchange markets, interest rates, currency, no printing money to pay domestic debt. That's the UPND policy. We want to make sure that when there's a stimulus package like $10 billion, 10 billion kwacha, that is available for COVID stimulus, it is not given to political party cadres, whether UPND or PA. It is not lent to politically, connected people, but to genuine business. These are the issues that a central bank must be allowed to do because they help bring macro stability, which is important to manage the price levels, general price level, inflation. It is important to make sure that we don't denigrate the roles of a central bank to printing money to fund elections, because it will damage the economy, to destroy jobs in the long run. Having an opinion on that, my pastor, does not mean that we are fighting each other. We are sharing ideas of how to run the country better. Right? For example, to manage the COVID-19, we in the UPND have been talking about it, to social distance, to wear masks, to ensure we spend money on protective gear for medical staff, frontline staff, so that they don't get infected with the virus and die. We've lost doctors, we've lost medical staff. We have lost even leaders of key institutions in our country in the last 30 days or so. We know, we don't need to mention names. We have lost members of parliament, we've lost ordinary citizens, we have lost so many people. We did not need to lose them if we had managed the COVID-19 pandemic properly. That does not mean we are attacking those in office. We are offering an alternative on how we can manage a pandemic like this. Earlier, I was talking about a properly managed economy that will help us to manage pandemics like COVID-19. That does not mean confrontation, my pastor. It is currently misconstrued as to mean confrontation and to bringing disunity in the country. No, we are actually saying leadership can be provided in different ways that will grow the economy, not destroy the economy. That will avoid borrowing and not create a debt crisis. That will avoid deaths, many deaths. Life is a gift from God. We didn't need to lose so many people because if we are in leadership, we must follow the health guidelines and lead by example. When we criticize those issues, it doesn't mean that we are acrimonious. We are saying that we can handle pandemics better through good leadership, through discipline, through procuring COVID materials by the disaster management unit, not the Minister of Health. Why would the Minister of Health want to procure COVID material? We see a sense of appetite for corruption in there. That does not mean conflict, my pastor. It means that we can do things better. So I have given you examples that sometimes we are accused of acrimony because we are offering alternatives that will grow the economy, that will create jobs, that will create business opportunities, so that people don't have to accuse HH of being corrupt or having stolen. But we can allow citizens, young people, to enterprise, facilitate that by a government. That's what we're seeing. Those alternatives don't mean conflict. They actually mean a better way of running a country. That is very important. So I wanted to articulate this so that we don't have a misunderstanding of what is going on now. Because we've commented about, for example, the removal of the Bank of Zambia government. Because you don't just do that. Because there is a due process that must be followed to keep the independence of the central bank. Otherwise, people are speculating now that this removal is to facilitate printing money to pay domestic debt, because we can't borrow now, we have hit our head. These are the speculations going on. Also that you need to ensure that as you have a due process in appointing, you have a due process in dismissal, so that there's fairness, there's no perception of a hegemonic behavior. That is not conflict. That is the health debate.
President,
let me close by saying, my pastor, unity is paramount. Unity that will drive orderliness in the country, that will drive fairness, that will drive inclusiveness, not exclusions. It's very important within the democratic dispensation, since we are not in a one-party state. There are people who confuse unity to mean we must behave as though we are in a one-party state. Absolutely not. We must compete for office to serve and serve better. My pastor, we are available for dialogue. On any matter that may create or is creating acrimony in our country. Because we don't need acrimony, we need fair competition. We need exchange of ideas. We are available to meet anybody and everybody, including colleagues in the PF. We've always been available. I'm sure you are aware that my colleague and I met under the Church Mother Bodies auspices sometime this year. I think it's this year or late last year. We need to meet because talking is the way you resolve misunderstandings, which, if cleared, they will help the country, such as managing the COVID pandemic better. They will help us have a free and fair election. They will help us have a civil service, a public service, where every citizen feels that they are equal citizens in a country and they are not discriminated. It is these things that are causing unhappiness and disharmony, including loss of jobs and opportunities for the youth. The youth are hurting now. We need to find a way of managing that. I do not agree that we must use COVID money to give handouts to the youth from one political party. What about youth from other political parties? What about other citizens who don't belong to a political party? We must take care of everybody in an equitous manner in this country. To conclude, I'm available for dialogue. Please instigate that. You have a supporter in me and our colleagues in the UPND. Take the leadership, we will follow you.
Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, my wife and I can only thank you because, trust me, I have not been a biased person and I will never be. You know my stance. You know, some people are knowing you because of hunger or because of position. They want something from you or one cow from you. But you know my position that as a pastor, I'll hate to discriminate a human being. But it pains me when I hear a finance minister from South Africa making comments on an internal affairs. The same president who appointed the Bank of Zambia governor is the same president who says, look, I don't need your services now. When he was appointing, there was no consultation. When he's disappointing, there are all these talks and everything. If you can stand together with the president, let's protect the sovereignty of Zambia. I am personally against the Minister of South Africa commenting in the internal affairs of Zambia. And this is why, President HH, I will not stop knocking at your door. And thank God that you are always available. Don't wait for church mother bodies, for Pastor Chiluba, for what? You as an elder, you as a deacon. Once you come together with President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, I'll give you a practical example. In the pastor kingdom, if I don't get along with this pastor, when my church members run away from the church, they will go to that pastor because they know I'll never preach in his church. They cannot go to the church of my friend because they know should the pastor find me here, he will talk to his friend. And at national level, when you and President Edgar Chagwa Lungu come together and start deliberating, I'm not saying that you join the party or he joins you, you define diversity like you said, you come together. I am appealing, President HH, the squabbles, the cadalism, hacking of each other will not happen. Zambia is a great nation. We were born for greatness. I can only appeal to you and appeal to my president. That's why I said in my outline, don't attack my guest, don't attack my president, because you two people, President Chimbakambwili, President Kalava, including President Muryokela, you are important people in this nation. And don't allow us churches to divide you. by saying, I'm a pastor for Lungu, I'm a pastor for HH, I'm a pastor for Kambwili. That kind of division, it should not exist in this nation. We should live together as one people. Once again, President of the Opposition, UPND, I thank you most sincerely and greet your wife, greet the Central Committee, tell them Pastor Chiluba says, let's love one another irrespective of political parties.
With pleasure, my pastor. I want to thank you for the opportunity to appear on Camnet television. I want to thank you for the questions they've asked, and I hope in answering the questions, we have dealt with one or two things that may be bothering listeners, viewers, wherever they are. I also respect that some of the questions you ask, you're asking them on behalf of the general public.
Absolutely.
But one message I want to leave you with is that when we seek public office, we must accept that we'll be scrutinized. We will be criticized, even in the church leadership.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean those who scrutinize us don't like us. Therefore, we must arrest them, we must hate them, we must insult them. I want to agree with you. We must be able to tolerate each other within, what I call just love, loving each other, respecting each other. And I want to answer your call that we are available for engagement, for dialogue, that which leads to bettering the lives of the people of Zambia. We are always available.
Thank you so much.
We will also remain strong. We will remain strong because we need the country to have strong leadership in difficult times. But we mean no evil to anyone. We love the people of Zambia. We want and wish them a better life, all of them, irrespective of who they are, where they were born, how tall they are, yellow or black or whatever. As the old KK will say, man north, man south, man east, man west. My pastor, Otelam Kwai, Zigo Mkwambili, Kwarumba Kapats.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, Camnet TV viewers, the world at large, you've heard from the president of the UPND, President Hakainde Hichilema. Those of you that are watching this broadcast, not sitting in my seat, I know you could have said, why didn't he ask this? Why did he ask about this? And for all of you, like I've received one criticism from a distinguished member of society who has my number, I am so grateful to all of you. Criticisms are very good. And those of you that have sent compliments for the way the issue has been handled, I thank you. Both critics and those who are compliment. Let me say this, Zambia is a great nation and we were born for greatness. As President Hakainde Hichilema of the opposition party has said, and I'm glad that he is willing to wake and meet the President of the Republic of Zambia. I think this is what Zambia is all about. We should not put stomachs, we should not put divisions, we should not put tribes and other things. Let's put God first. I've been your host, Pastor Chiluba, from Camnet TV. On behalf of my wife and the technical team, keep watching Camnet TV. This is not just another channel. Bye-bye.